Ever feel like your practice is growing, but you're not sure what the next stage of growth for you looks like? Well, let's break down the 5 stages of scaling your health business so you can see where you're at and what's keeping you from the next level. Guys, welcome back to the podcast. Coach Andrew here. We're going to be talking about the 5 stages of business growth to help you understand where you are at in your business and also maybe see what's preventing you from getting to the next stage of business development. This conversation appeared from my local networking group. I meet with a networking group every single Wednesday. There's 38 of us that get together. We have not missed a Wednesday. And these people get together to build business, to pass referrals. We do networking. We're showcasing the types of businesses that we're looking for. And then, of course, we're also talking business strategies. So with everyone being in different fields, I had one of the web developers approach me and he's like, hey, you work with health coaches. I'm trying to get more health coaches to do website development for, but every single time I talk to these people, they seem to be not interested in web service. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I asked him naturally, well, what stage of business are you approaching them at? So when he started to ask, well, what the heck are you talking about? I explained to him that a lot of people, especially in the health industry, only tend to update their website in 2 areas. You create a website at the beginning, so the very first stage of business development, where you're like, look, I need some visibility to actually go and whether it's go to my clinic, go to my practice, find my online program. I need a place to bring people to, so I need a website. And that's kind of the premier stage, which is stage 1. And then there's also businesses in stage 3 who are looking to transition to the next level, whether it's they're updating new team members, whether they're adding on new services, maybe they're transitioning into online or hybrid programs. And that's more of a stage 3 where now their website needs to be overhauled to reflect these new changes. Other than that, you're probably going to have a hard time trying to sell someone a complete website edit when maybe that's not something they need or something that they're focused on in the moment. So naturally, as I was having this conversation, I recognized that a lot of practitioners are in stages of business and maybe they do not understand what stage they're in. So that might actually be the thing that prevents them from growing to the next stage. So I'm going to go through the stages now to allow you to really figure out, well, where is my business? And then also I'm going to be sharing the pain points and the primary focus for what stage you should be working on. So then maybe you have a next action step to take towards, or you can at least see the problems that are potentially keeping you back from getting to that next level. We're going to go into stage 1. Stage 1 is the solo startup practitioner. These are practitioners who are on their own. They've just started the journey and they're making from 0 to 10K a month. Now, I will preface this. The revenue doesn't necessarily matter in these examples of stages. It's just the average revenue that I see people in, depending on what stage of business, because there's a natural kind of level that you can charge as a practitioner. And there's also a natural amount of time that most practitioners have, aka 40 or 50 hours a week. So by the time you fill that in, it ends up working to around these revenue numbers. So if you're plus or minus 5K in this, it's not going to be a standstill as to what's going to make these stages. Just understand that there's an average through this aspect. Now, when it comes to the solo startup practitioner, it's just you. As a stage 1 solo practitioner, you are doing everything yourself. You are the client delivery. You are the sales. You are the promotions. You are the marketer. You are the content creator. So in this moment, the majority of practitioners' primary focus is just trying to get consistent clients and building basic systems. And that's because you're focusing on filling your time. That is the only objective that you should have as a solo startup, because guess what? You're not making a lot of money right now. And I'm not saying a lot as in 10K is a little or whatever. I'm saying your goal is to get busy enough to either hire people, build a team, create a practice, establish something online. And in order to do that, you're going to need revenue. You're going to need consistent clients. So I love solo practitioners and being in the space for a reason. The area of building business here is simple. Largely, it's just hustle. It's you trading your time for money. It's you networking. It's you building relationships. It's you establishing a key 5 or 10 core people who then start referring to you, and then your practice starts to build and grow. Now, in my experience, when people are in stage 1 of their business, they kind of end up having the same challenges that go into their business. And the first challenge is they struggle with getting steady lead flow. Almost every single practitioner at stage 1 has a hard time getting leads, largely because they don't know how to get leads. Do they get leads from referral only? Do they get leads from their social media? Should they be locally advertising? Should they be creating partnerships or different programs with other practitioners? And because they're trying to figure out what works with them and what's in alignment with them, the lead flow is going to be something that is naturally inconsistent. And that's okay. That's a part of learning what works for you and, of course, how you want to build your practice. Now, alongside having this issue of steady lead flow, most of them also don't have a lot of confidence in sales, so they have this fear of selling. Remember, the majority of practitioners who start, and you remember when you started, no one really taught you business. So you're saying to yourself, well, how do I sell this? I've never done consultations before. I don't know how to ask people for money. I feel weird about it. And so there's this natural obstacle of you have to overcome the fear of selling, where you can just say, hey, here's what I have to offer. Let's start and sign you up. And then, of course, taking a credit card and taking billing. Now, alongside the fear of selling comes the aspect which many stage 1 practitioners experience, which is a pricing issue. Sometimes you don't know where your pricing should be. Maybe it's a little too low. Maybe you have it excessively too high and you're not getting consistent signups, so you don't really know where the pricing should sit. This prevents you from signing up people consistently. So even if you do have leads and even if you don't have a fear of selling, you might at the very end experience a lot of price objections. The bottom line of this is the reason why most people have the hardest time transitioning from stage 1 is because everything is manual. It's manual everything. You're doing the client delivery. You're doing the client plans. You're doing the sales calls. You're doing the social media, and all of that takes time. And you have to balance each of those times and learn where you can maximize the time to also get clients and profit. AKA, you can't spend 30 hours a week delivering with clients and then expect to continue to scale a business only spending 2 or 3 hours a week on your marketing. It's all about finding that balance. And I say that stage 1 is largely about hustle because it is. Truth be told, no amount of business coaching or no amount of hiring an agency is going to catapult you into the next stage because there are too many variables for it to actually be consistent. And what I mean by that is, like, you can hire a professional to help you set up your systems, but you still have to be willing to sell. You can hire an agency to create your ads, but you still have to be able to know the pricing of your offer to sign people up consistently. And this is where actually taking on more of those agencies or working more with these content creation professionals actually does these people a disservice, because as a stage 1 practitioner, you're still trying to figure out what you're in alignment with. And I remember when I first started my business, I worked with a mentor and he's like, you got to do everything one-on-one. You have to do everything a low ticket, where it was like $99 a month. And that didn't align with me. I didn't want to do one-on-one. I didn't want to do low ticket. And so I actually built a business that I wasn't a fan of. And then I had to go back, undo all of that work, and then create an actual business model that was in alignment with me. The entire focus that you should be focusing on as a stage 1 practitioner is you should be focusing on trading your time, which is going to be, how do I fill all of my one-on-one spots to get to 10K recurring as quickly as possible? And you should also be focused on your sales. Sales, how do I sell better? How do I sell more consistently? Because we can always change your lead flow. We can always change your onboarding. We can always change the offer. But if you're getting people in front of them and you're not closing them, well, that's always going to be kind of the crux of this entire thing. Now, as you get past stage 1, of course, you're going to get to stage 2 of your business, which is what I call the booked but capped. This is where you're hitting that 10K to 15K a month. You've become busy, which is great. I love it. Your time is filled, but now you're maxed out. So now you're saying to yourself, okay, well, do I hire a VA? Do I bring on an admin? How do I either mitigate the time change for trading time of money, or how do I minimize trading my time now and putting people into maybe some more optimal programs? The challenges that people will experience at stage 2 is usually based off of the amount of time that they have. When you are working one-on-one with a client, when you're the one doing the delivery, you're simply short on time to do things like networking, to create or generate more leads, and also to be able to sell more. And that's the key to continuously scale. Your marketing needs to run 24/7, your lead generation needs to run 24/7, and your sales has to be something that is separate from you. So at this point, this is where you have to start looking at, like, do I bring on a VA? Do I bring in a tech person? Do I bring in an admin person? And a lot of this, understanding what to bring on, comes down to the technology you have in place and the delivery system that you have for your clients. Normally at stage 2, the challenge is time, the challenge is clients not sticking around, and the challenge is your delivery is all over the freaking place. You're onboarding people differently every time, you're having too many different types of commitments. Some people are on 6 months, some people are on 4 months, some people are on 8 months because you're just trying to sell whatever you can. And the process is not something that is stable. When you get into this aspect of you're trying to replace people who are leaving, you're having retention issues, your tech's all over the place, you really don't have any time to think about scaling because you just feel like the technician. You're worried about replacing these people who are leaving your world. And this is where your focus heavily needs to be on your systems and on the program that you are creating. How do I create a system where the same thing happens to all of my clients all the time? They get onboarded the same way, they sign up the same way, they get delivered to the same way, they see the same results, and they stay for the same length of time. This makes your business more predictable, and it also allows you to create a clear separation between, hey, what are some of the tasks that I can give away to an admin or to a partner or to a VA versus what are the tasks that I actually still have to be doing myself. So when it comes to the primary focus from a stage 2, the primary focus should be about getting away from trading time for money. Because as long as you are the person who is directly connected to everything still, and you're the one trading the time, you're going to run out of time eventually, and that's going to be very hard for you to grow. So now you get to this space where you're like, cool, I'm no longer trading the time. I'm starting to make more and more money. Clients are staying for a longer period, and they're getting stable and consistent results. Beautiful. Now you're in stage 3. This is where most of actually our clients end up being, which is the early scale and micro team. At this point, you're making $15,000 to $25,000 a month consistently. Month over month, you're generating that revenue. It's very stable. And at this point, you've brought on a few people because you've probably had to. It's an admin, it's a VA, maybe you have a co-coach. You've brought these people on to help facilitate all of the tasks that you either don't want to do or simply don't have the time to do so you can continue to build the businesses in. Now, the primary focus in this stage actually ends up shifting to building scalable programs and increasing client lifetime value. You start saying to yourself, how can I change 200 people's lives with the same time that it takes me to change 20 people's lives? How can I take on people at 8 p.m. at night without actually having to do a sales call at 8 p.m. at night? And then also when it comes to the lifetime value, you start saying to yourself, well, if a client stayed with me for 5 months, how can I get that 5-month client to stay with me for an additional 3 months? As we start increasing the scalable program and we start increasing the lifetime value for the client, this will allow you to quickly increase your recurring revenue month over month. If you have 100 people stay with you for 8 months instead of 5 months, then month over month, you're going to require less leads. You're going to need less sales for you to grow and scale. And also your recurring revenue is going to continue to increase because you still have people that are staying in your world longer. So being able to take on more clients with the same time and being able to keep those clients for longer is going to allow you to grow very quickly. There are some pain points at this level, though, which is largely around the systems and it's largely around what you are delegating. And the common pain points here in the first one is like you're struggling to delegate properly. When you've offloaded these stuff to your VA, to your admin, to your co-coach, everything has been in your head up until this point. Some of your systems don't really talk to each other. The delivery feels a little bit inconsistent. And so some of the things that you've delegated, there's actually no clarity as to either why you've delegated them or no clarity as to what they need to do and how they need to do it. So it is done the same way every time. And this is where the client experience will start to waver. As you sign on more people, you're going to find your systems will actually break. Systems breaking is actually the greatest problem to have. If you go, okay, now that I've gone from 100 clients to 200 clients and all of a sudden my onboarding breaks, it's good because a broken system is actually a direct pointer as to, hey, look, your onboarding needs to be fixed. The key with this is when a system breaks, you're not just throwing a patch on it. You start looking at all of the systems and saying, how can I get these systems to talk to each other consistently? So this goes back to your tech. It goes back into your client delivery. It goes back into your agreements or your forms with your clients. So that way, when you take a client from point A to point B, which should hopefully be an 8-month stay, the same thing is going to happen every time. And the people taking on certain tasks like sales or admin repeat it the same way to your level of results. This is also going to then lead into the second challenge at this level, which is you hired wrong fits. Most of you practitioners at a stage 3 level have done what I've called reactive hiring. You've gotten really full and you're like, holy shit, I need an admin tomorrow, or I need a VA person like a week from now. And when you bring them on, you're not really patient enough, or you don't really know the things to look for to make sure that this person that you're bringing on is in alignment with your values, is an A player who's actually a self-led person who's going to want to learn on their own, and someone who's actually going to want to help create the processes with you. Because there are people out there that you can say, hey, I don't really know what the process is here. I'd like for you to make a process for me, and then we can roll for that depending on what you think is the best fit. Hiring wrong fits sucks. And this is usually where most practitioners stop their growth, and it's a hard wall because if your systems don't talk to each other and you're hiring wrong people, this is going to lead to very high cash months followed by either staff turnover or maybe people will leave and take some clients with them. And then you're going to question yourself and say, well, am I going to go through that entire process again? Hiring a wrong person can be absolutely devastating. And this comes down to you not being sure where in your business structure a person actually fits. You don't really know what the values are. Maybe you've never actually built a mission, vision, and values statement where the right people and the right fit and the right niche is all in one package that's easy to understand. So because of that, you're just happy continuously filling your revenue and being okay with where these clunky systems are. Ultimately, this comes down to your business structure. It's looking at how to be able to change the structure to either accommodate a changing team, to make sure that you're bringing on the right team, or making sure that what you're delegating and the systems will talk to each other properly. Now, there are people who get past this stage, and it's beautiful. When you find the right team members and they accentuate what you do and you're able to scale past it, you get into stage 4. You are officially what I would consider established scale. This is you being the clinic or the practitioner owner. $10K to $50K a month I see most people make in this stage. And this is where you've got a full team and you've got multiple offers on there. You have offers online. You have multiple offers in person if you're running an in-person facility. Your teammates know and understand very well what the expectations are for their roles, and they do them very well. Here, The focus is about building a brand visibility and creating local authority for yourself. Now that you've started to get full, this is about maximizing every marketing dollar. It's about making sure that as you continue to grow, you become the local authority where you will switch from ad marketing to organic and people continue to start flooding you. This is where referrals becomes important. This is where maybe you're either looking at expanding your facility or you're looking at approaching other local online spaces where instead of your city, maybe you're branching out into the next 2 cities. The key with this though is as you start to grow, especially with a really tight team, the pain points here normally becomes burnout. It's burnout from leading everything. At this point, although you've taken back your time, you have made yourself as a practitioner the go-to person for your team. Every single time the team has a challenge or a problem, they're coming to you. Slam the ring. They're coming to you. They're saying, hey, what do we do with this? Hey, what's our next marketing thing? Hey, can we create this content with you? And ultimately, the challenge being you leading everything is the team is very underutilized. They're actually not maximizing their gifts. They're not maximizing what they could be doing from you. They're just relying on you to make all of the decisions, and then they're just taking brainless and mindless action on the things that you're saying. That's tough because when it still relies on you, you still have all of the stresses of being inside of the business when you don't actually have any of the responsibilities of the roles. Teams being underutilized is really, really tough because this means that you have to change your leadership style, and it also means that you have to change your identity. You have to make the switch from hey, I'm the practitioner who's working alongside you to I'm the CEO. I have to start teaching you guys how to be self-led. Now, alongside having these team challenges, typically at stage 4 in your business, you're also going to find that your client LTV, the lifetime value, the length of time that they stay with you, is going to kind of peter off. And you're going to find the challenge of clients not upgrading, or maybe they're not staying long term. So you have clients that'll stay with you for 8 months, but then you're like, well, I'm hearing of practitioners that have clients that stay with them for 2 years. Some of them stay with them for 3.5 years. You're also going to find as you start to build the team that you're going to have high turnover of these clients. Maybe the clients don't have the same personal relationship like they did with you than they did with your teammates. So now you're dealing with a higher turnover for your clients, and you're dealing with wanting to have your clients stay longer, but having a challenge of doing that. Weak retention and upsell strategy, that's what's going to be key here. You're going to have to look at what are some additional things I can do to retain them outside of their care. Can I create a community? Can I start running client events? Can I get them involved in some way, like a brother or sister program? Can I do like birthday celebrations? Can I do little challenges that maybe they're leading? Are there things that I can do outside of this to engage them, to have them stay in my world? Or can I create a reactivation campaign that invites them to come back, maybe if they need that additional support? This is going to come to retention. This is also going to come to partially an upsell strategy. It's about maximizing the amount of time that these people are going to stay with you. And it's, of course, about re-engaging your team. Ultimately, your focus here should be retention, and your focus here should be your team. Oftentimes, you believe, and I believed this at one point, that I had to be the one to fix every problem. That whenever I saw that retention was going down or lifetime value was decreasing or recurring revenue was at a standstill, I felt I had to be the one to jump in and then make a bunch of decisions and tell people to do things. No, you actually don't have to. The key of having a team and having the right team is about figuring out where they can step outside of their comfort zone to actually be utilized properly. It's not just about hiring them for a role and the role is small, like, hey, you're just doing billing and invoicing. No. Where else can they grow into? Where else can they step outside of their comfort zone? Can they be a part of the social media videos? Can they help you create the content? Can they be the ones to recommend the next offer or promotion? Have they been in your world long enough for you to be able to say, hey, you can actually create the emails now. You can actually run the blog now because you've been in this world long enough and you understand. But the key with this is trust. You have to trust your team. And you also have to trust that they're not going to burn down your business if they make a mistake. This is also the area where I work with a lot of practitioners on because they get in their own freaking way. There's this inability to relinquish control, or this idea that if they relinquish control, the moment a small little fire starts, they have to immediately hop back into their business and they have to take control over it. You don't. Sometimes fires are a good thing, because it actually burns a little bit of a clearing for your team to actually see what's working and what's not working. So it's about utilizing your team properly and making sure, of course, that you have a really strong upsell and retention strategy. Now, 90% of practitioners never make it past stage 4. And the reason why is because your goals will change. In my experience, I started off as a practitioner who wanted to fill his individual time. I did that, and as I filled my time, I immediately wanted to take my time back because I said to myself, now I'm so freaking busy. I don't have time to do D&D. I don't have time to travel with my wife. I don't have I don't have time to hang out with my friends. And that sucked. I didn't like that. I didn't like being this kind of tool to be used by my business, but my business not actually serving me. So then my goals changed and I wanted to go online and I wanted to have more time freedom and I wanted the ability to serve more people, but not take on more programs or more one-on-one clients. Not everyone has that type of goal though. There are some practitioners that I speak to and they're like, hey, look, I want to be multi-clinic. I want to continue to expand. I want to buy other practices. I want to bring on multiple professionals inside of this and I want to build a brand. So this is where stage 5 looks different. Stage 5, in my experience, either becomes multi-clinic or it becomes hybrid expansion. For you to scale to that 50K recurring month to 150K recurring month, this is where you either have to think of running multiple locations or scaling online. This is about you thinking bigger at this point. Acquisitions, licensing, brand expansion. What is it that you envision and how do you envision this business in your life? Some practitioners love running multiple locations and they want to go in between multiple cities and they've got their team in each city and they're running their local marketing ads and their team is very dialed in and we work on LTV together and boom, it's amazing and it works. And then their goal is just like they're buying other locations. They're either going to sell individual locations at the end or they're going to have an exit and sell it and that's it. Perfect. If that's the idea, the envision that you have in your life, that's what stage 5 looks like for you. Or maybe stage 5 looks like something different, which is scaling online. Maybe you say to yourself, I don't want to take on a large team. I don't want to be caught and stuck in one city or one location. I want to travel and still help more people. I want to be able to be 65, 70, 80 and still be selling online programs that are already pre-recorded. Well, in that case, then your stage 5 becomes hybrid expansion. This is where now it's about how do I license these programs? How do I keep the marketing or the organic content on so I can continue to scale and grow. Regardless of what direction you're doing, which is you want multi-clinic or you want to scale online, the challenges are pretty much the same. This is where your standard operating procedures, you're going to find that they fall apart at scale. So the more you start to get multiple clinics on the same thing, the more you start to bring on a larger team, you're going to have team members that don't really follow your operating procedures and maybe you become too relaxed with them. So no one's enforcing the rules and then the systems start falling apart again. This is where you got to tighten back the ship. You got to say, hey, where are the SOPs? Do I need to change them? Are some of them redundant? Do I need to reinforce them? Otherwise, they are going to fall apart at scale. Or if you're going online, you're going to need completely new SOPs. Your operating procedures from in person or one-on-one is going to be totally different online, hybrid, multiple program, multiple offers. So it becomes a whole different beast. And this is where now you're going to have to change the way your operating procedures actually continue to build. Now, in this moment, there can also be times where you're still too involved in the day-to-day. Like if you take on another clinic or facility, anticipate that double your time is going to be needed because now you're running two places instead of one. Now, in order to prevent yourself from doing that, this is why you have to double down on SOPs and you have to be very clear with the expectations and teams within the roles. Or if you're going online, you're going to now be running in-person programs, but also online programs, and you can still be heavily involved in that. So when you go to grow and expand at this level, you have to start saying to yourself, what is my level of involvement in the day-to-day operations? Do I want to now grow a brand? Or do I want to grow a self-brand, which is I'm the face of it, people still see me, and I'm growing this business? Now, as you continue to grow and expand at this level, a large part of people being stuck in stage 5 comes down to not really having a central dashboard, or they don't have metrics for these multiple areas of their business. They know how to do one area really well, but then after that single area, they kind of are unsure either what online is supposed to look like and what are the non-negotiables and metrics they need to measure for the success, or they bring on another clinic and then the original clinic starts taking on more of the brunt of the load and the new clinic doesn't really run itself. This is where you have to have a central dashboard and you have to have clear CEO metrics, clear leads for each one, clear marketing for each one, a clear strategy for each one. And if you don't have the strategy, this is where your brand is going to start to feel inconsistent. You're going to have to start looking at, is my messaging the same or is it changed in between both of the clinics? Has my marketing changed since going online? Am I speaking to the right client again? So all of these areas, doesn't matter where you're at, there are different stages, and it is important that you know at what stage of business you are on inside of your practice. Because if you do not have clarity as to where you are, stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's really tough for you to understand what you should be focusing on and what your next goal is. I'm not telling you to put a next stage as like, this is my next destination. Maybe you're okay being the solo practitioner and you're like, this is it for me. Cool. Maybe you want to be that early scale micro team and then you're like, that's going to be it for me. Cool. This is not something where you have to transition through each stage. This is understanding that at each stage and at each level of business, you're going to experience a whole new level of challenges. It's going to be a whole new level of challenges on your income. It's going to be whole new levels of stress on your team. It's going to be different identities that you're going to need to transition through from practitioner to CEO, from CEO to a business owner, where a business owner is someone who might actually hire a manager to act as CEO, in which they can step away. And it's an interesting transition. Through each one, you're going to be learning different skills. You're going to have to say goodbye to older things that you did in order for you to move through each stage. There's no right or wrong way to be able to navigate through this. You don't have to go through each one specifically. Some people go from stage 2 and skip straight to stage 4. Some people go from stage 1 and all of a sudden they go stage 5 where they buy someone else's business to build in. It doesn't really matter, but what matters is that you're looking at what are the problems that are in front of you. That's why when I'm working one-on-one with these practitioners inside of their business, and what we do at Coach to Coach is something that is very personal and intimate for each professional. It is not something that you can just create a general business plan or create a template of tools and then you go from business to business and say, this is how you need to run your practice. No two practitioners have the same goals. Some want online, some want in person. That's fine. No two practitioners have the same size team. Sometimes it's you and a VA. Other times it's a team of 16, like our one practice has, and that's also okay. But When we're working one-on-one, and when I go into someone's business, it's largely about looking at, well, what are your goals? What stage do you want to get to? What stage are you at right now? What are the obstacles that are in front of you? And then I am beside you and I act as your CFO to help you make these decisions. So that way, when you're doing the new marketing, when you're creating the new operating procedures, when you're training your team, when you're offloading something from maybe you to a co-coach or you to an admin, you're doing that stuff with confidence. Because I'll tell you, the killer of all of these stages is wasting time and wasting money. If you hire wrong, you waste time and money and you get stressed and you don't hire again. If you spend a lot of money on marketing or random different agencies and it actually doesn't work for you, you're probably not going to be likely to do it again. And so oftentimes the hard stop in a stage or you being stuck in one of these stages in business for a really long time is simply because you've tried a couple of things, but they weren't the right things. And so you're like, oh, I don't want to invest in an agency again. I don't want to do random Facebook ads again. I don't want to bring on a random coach again to tell me to change my offer when that's not the thing that's broken here. This is why no two business can be the same. It's why you can't have the same strategy business to business. And that's why I work with these professionals one-on-one. When I'm inside your business and we're looking at your things, it really is totally different for every person. And I actually really love that. I love that every business strategy works. I love that every professional wants a different goal. I love the fact that a practitioner can still be a practitioner and build a team around them. I love that some of them transition into a CEO and go, I don't want to do another adjustment or I don't want to create another client program again. I love that. I love seeing the growth. I love seeing how every single one of you get fired up about your business. And I love seeing the potential of what is next. When you become so clear on your goal that you start to get fired up and that it excites you, you get so pumped as to what that next stage is for you. It lights a fire under me. That's what I live for every day, but it reignites the passion for your business. These stages aren't just about understanding a stage so you can find the revenue and then put yourself in a box and then make the money and you're like, what's the point? These stages are for you to see what is possible inside of your business and get reignited, get fired up again to take the next level. That's why we work one-on-one with these businesses. It's why when we're all in, we're 100% all in, looking at everything, your branding, your marketing, your offers, your team, your sales, because all of it really does matter. But the first step is you got to know what freaking stage you're at. Because if you don't know what stage you're at in your business, you're doing a lot of guessing. Last episode I talked about understanding the financials and where the 5 areas are in which, hey, look, maybe these finances are pointing as an indicator to your growth. This episode is largely about understanding where you are at. The more we can understand your current location, this is easier for us to then figure out what the next destination needs to be. Take that with what you will, if that makes any sense to you, because it does to me. Go out, find what stage you're at. Thanks for listening to this episode. And remember, guys, share this with other practitioners if you find it really valuable. Make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast as well. Every YouTube subscription helps me. It helps me understand what type of content to put out there. And also feel free to drop in the comments like what stage of business you're at. I'd love to know that, as well as what types of episodes you're looking for from the Coach to Coach podcast, because anytime I get inquiries, anytime I get people who have questions on certain things, this becomes the opportunity to be able to share this information with everyone. So thanks guys for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care.